suddenly realised I have the wrong glasses on. That's not a good thing. But yes, welcome to a bonus edition of Cracking the Cryptic. I have had my power restored after dramatic scenes yesterday when a car drove through I don't know what you call them, a pylon on the side of our road, and severed the pylon in two, brought down the electricity cables. And that is why yesterday's Sudoku video was from my small bank of holiday pre-prepared video. So I'm very sorry to those of you I didn't read out the birthdays of yesterday. And I couldn't give you a brief update on what happened in the Times Crossword Championship. And I know some of you were interested to know. So let's get to it. What I'm going to be doing in today's video, in this video, is I'm going to be going through the grand final puzzle that featured in Saturday's competition, which is this one, Times Championship Final 2023. Now, I have to tell you, this is not going to be a blind solve today for a change, because I did do it as part of the audience on the day. Now, as I was racing at the time, I didn't sort of diligently work through all the wordplays, so I'm going to take my time and talk you through it and enjoy it. It's by Richard Rogan, who is one of the finest constructors of cryptic crosswords alive. Richard is blessed with a very unusual mind, an absolutely brilliant mind, and you'll see in this puzzle just example after example of well, I'm trying to think of the right adjective. This is why I didn't win the crossword competition. Just brilliancies, absolute brilliancies. The wit and imagination you need to come up with some of these clues. Richard is very humble and would say, "Oh, it was nothing." It is not nothing. It is really gifted, and we're all lucky that we can solve puzzles of this quality. Anyway, I should get to the story, shouldn't I? What happened on Saturday? Well, it was actually a delight. I think, even though it was a disaster for Cracking the Cryptic, we both had epic fails. I think I certainly had a lovely day. It was so great after 4 years to meet so many old friends, to meet new friends. Thank you so much to people who introduced themselves to me and said that they watched the channel. I was astonished. I am absolutely astonished. Lots of fantastically good cryptic crossword solvers, miles better than me. You know, they enjoy watching the Friday masterclass, and I was like, well, you can't enjoy it. You must get so annoyed with me, but they do seem to enjoy it, and that I was really humbled by that, and pleased, but also surprised. Yeah, it was just lovely to see so many old friends, and very well done to the organisers. Mick Hodgkin, I think, you know, has done a great job to get the Times Crossword Championship happening again. And I should tell you, actually, if you're watching this and you are in charge of the purse strings at a company, you can sponsor the Times Crossword Championship is looking for sponsorship, and I can't think of many examples. There's an absolute cachet, you know, to be associated with something so highbrow and yet gentle. You know, there's nothing offensive about the Times Crossword Championship. It is just a wonderful battle of wits. And yeah, so if anyone out there wants to investigate that, it wouldn't surprise me, and just drop us an email at crackingthecryptic at gmail.com, and we will put you in touch with the right people. Anyway, what happened? I still haven't got around to it. Well, I had the first boo-boo of the day, and it's a bad one. So the first round, you had to complete 3 puzzles in an hour. And after about 42 minutes, I'd completed the 3 puzzles. I checked my paper, handed it in. When I say I checked my paper, what I did was I scanned to make sure I'd filled in every entry, handed it in, comfortably quick enough to get through to the next round. And then I was talking with Mark afterwards, and Mark said, yeah, my last one in was root. And I was like, immediately alarm bells rang. I was like, root? I don't remember even a thought process going on about route. What was that? What was that one? And then Mark reminded me of the clue. And then I had this horrible sinking feeling that I hadn't filled in that answer. I couldn't understand how I couldn't have filled it in, because I checked my paper. So surely my eyes would have revealed blanks. But no, my eyes did not reveal blanks, and I had left it out, and I am a total moron. So yes, so that was me out of the running. Obviously I stayed and did all the puzzles from the later rounds as well. But yeah, quite well, just infuriating. Infuriating. So mad. But you know, let's also be real. The semi-final, the 3 puzzles in the semi-final were really hard. I would have had absolutely no chance of coming in the top 3. It was very interesting, actually. The top 3 was very much determined by errors, in the sense that I think Mark finished the semi-final first, but then Mark made an error, which is very, very rare for him. He talks about it at the start of last night's Sudoku video, so if you want to understand the error, which related to, I think he put rivalry in, and the answer was revelry. And you know, he thought it was confirmed by a crossing entry, which is so, I mean, it's so unlucky, but so that's annoying for him. But there were other, I think Jason James, I think I saw Jason James there, and he's a fantastic solver, and I think he also made an error. But anyway, the top 3 were Peter Stegel, Matthew Marcus, and David Webb. And they competed on the stage in front of everybody, and they were given half an hour to solve the puzzle that we're about to look at. I'll tell you the result, because I might as well. But what happened was, after 13 minutes, I think Peter Stegel handed in. Then after 19 minutes, Matthew handed in. And after half an hour, David was still solving. And David clearly is one of the very best cryptic crossword solvers alive. And after half an hour, this puzzle was he was still battling with it. It shows what we're about to look at. Anyway, Peter had made an error. I do know the error. I'll talk about it when we get to that clue. And that meant that Matthew had flown over specially from Portland, Oregon to compete, won the Times Crossword Championship for the first time. Matthew is a delightful guy, an absolutely brilliant person to chat to, and a Jeopardy champion. I think earlier this year he won several episodes on the US game show Jeopardy, and for the first time won the Times Crossword Championship. So huge congratulations to him. And there was something else I was going to say about that. What was it? He won 19 minutes, and that was very clever. And actually, it is a shame, and I think that they will sort this out at some point, but they need to find a way of somehow capturing, maybe like the US Championship does, you know, the spectacle of the final on video, whether they have to play white noise into the contestants' ears and then have a commentator or something like that with webcams so we can all see what's going on. It would really be good, because Matthew shows all of his emotions on his face. And he was gesticulating wildly throughout. It was very entertaining to sort of keep an eye on. And I can also, I mean, I think it's fine to say this. Mark was absolutely furious in the audience, because he finished this puzzle we're about to look at in 10 minutes, and so he would probably have won had he not had the error in the semi-final. But we all have these war stories, these crosses to bear. Anyway, with that, let's get cracking. Let's take a look at this, the Times Championship Final 2023 puzzle. Sorry for the long intro today, but I think if you're watching this video, you presumably are a bit interested in crosswords. Now, what I thought I would do here is I'll go through this and I'll talk a bit about I'll go through it in the order I solved it in the audience. And I'll talk a bit about, you know, what I got stuck on, why I got stuck on it. So let's start with one across. Huge rock came down hard on girl. Now, believe it or not, I solved this in about 2 seconds, because came down, it seemed to me, had to be lit, as in landed. You know, so again, we're always looking for short synonyms for things in the Times crossword. So lit, I felt, and then I could see H for hard, and that gave me lith. And then in my brain, I know that lith is a word associated with big stones. So then all I had to work out is, what does this mean? You know, well, what's the you know, what's the construction that's going to get me to the huge rock that I think is being defined? And I thought of monolith, and then I thought of megalith. Maybe megalith is a thing, and Meg seems like it might be a girl at the start. And then I realised my first mistake, which is lit, was actually alit, which basically means the same thing. So we've got meg, alit for came down, H for hard, megalith, huge rock. We are rocking and rolling, aren't we? This is going to be a straightforward puzzle. No. Right, I actually got this clue really quickly as well. One down, which is where I went next. One, giving you her cheek in 30-second kiss. Let's just start with admiring the surface, and there are many extraordinary surfaces in this puzzle. So when I say the surface, I mean when you read the clue, it conjures up an image. One giving you her cheek in a 30-second kiss. You know, we've all got the picture of a girl presenting her cheek for kissing. Now, what's so clever about this is we're not talking about a cheek that needs kissing. We're talking about somebody who is impudent. And if you were a Beano reader, as I was when I was a boy, and actually Richard's probably a bit younger than me, but I suspect Richard was a Beano reader. Minnie the Minx is somebody who I always associated with cheekiness. So you might think of Minx here, but then you've got this. Okay, what's going on? How do we justify this? Well, 30 seconds are half a minute, and half of the word minute would give you min, and a kiss. Well, often if you are writing a letter or a card to somebody, you will write an X as a kiss. So min X is how the wordplay works, and we are rocking and rolling. I think I had a brief look at 2 down here and didn't get it, and so I then looked at this one. Novel science fiction cat, regular feature of Wells' War of the Worlds. I thought novel might be new at the start. But I could not understand what was going on with this one. But I wondered whether the W here would help me with this one. So I went back to it. Be clear to leave mum. And then I could get it. Because mum is if you keep mum, you stay silent. And then if you have that thought, it's not too difficult with the W here to see that the answers go without saying. If something goes without saying, it is clear, isn't it? And if you leave without speaking, you go without saying. So you leave mum, which is it's a lovely construction, and that seems to confirm new here. But I still didn't know what this was. I think I went to 3 down then. One, not passing on title of animation at any time under pressure. I don't think I solved this at this point. I'm annoyed with myself as I read the clue, because I'm like, how could you not get that? What an absolute fool. I then went here and got absolutely nowhere with this. Home for one, a poor tent, finally put up. I mean, this clue, it's absolutely brilliant. If any of you, right, you have to be honest with me. You have to be honest in the comments. If any of you solve this at this point, solve it cold, or no, not cold, with the T at the start, and you can explain it, and you have to be honest in the comments, then I take my metaphorical hat off to you, and I genuflect before you, because this clue is so brilliant and yet so hard. I cannot tell you. Anyway, so it was all. I was dying a bit here. I think I probably had a look at 5 across, which I didn't get till much later. And then I think I started floundering. Oh no, I got this one. I got 12 across. So pace, it's plain picked up. So again, when we see picked up in a cryptic crossword clue, well, you have to think about it as referring to sound. If you pick something up, you hear it, don't you? So we're looking for a homophone. So can we think of a 4-letter word for a pace? Yes, step. Now, STEPPE is a type of plane, as in a plane on land. So STEPPE, if you spell it differently, you can just chop off the P and the E at the end, you'll get step, which is the answer. Now, where did I go now? I think I looked at this safety device close to till a large city branch has installed. I didn't get it. I looked at this, normally say study involves university, didn't get it. It's funny actually, as I'm going through here, I can feel many of the thought processes are absolutely identical. You'd think that I would improve my thought process as a result of learning how to do a puzzle. So as I'm flicking, I think I did spend some time on this. Potter's character rather taken in by that sorcerer one time, because I consider myself an expert on Harry Potter, so I was absolutely sure I would be able to detect the answer to this very quickly, and of course I couldn't. Yeah, so I think then I realised, oops, I'm floundering, and I was sort of flapping around trying to find something that I could solve. No, I didn't solve that. I didn't solve that. I didn't solve that when I first looked at it. I didn't solve that. I'm trying to be real with you and like explain exactly. Yeah, I think in the end I went right down to the bottom right hand corner, which is a good strategy if you're ever very stuck on a puzzle. You can assume that by the time Richard got down to this part of the puzzle and was setting the final few clues, he probably got tired, and therefore these clues might be ripe for the picking. So I did solve this the first time I looked at it. It's Fresh Book with Basic School Skills. I mean, it's an outrage. It's an outrage. If you haven't seen this sort of thing before, you will think this is a total outrage. So in old education circles, you used to refer to the 3 R's: reading, writing, and arithmetic. So basic school skills are 3 R's, and book can be abbreviated to B, and that allows you to fill in this answer with no vowels, with brr, which is what you might say if you were cold or it was fresh outside. Brr is the answer there. I then got this one. Buy gold for one who should be paid. Now, so brilliant clues and lovely surface again. We've talked about gold before in cryptic crosswords. It has two. If you see gold, you must be thinking about two things. It's either going to be OR, which is a heraldic tincture. In fact, I've realised I've not got my dictionary up. Let's get the dictionary up because we're probably going to need it. So if we look up OR in the dictionary, we will find somewhere under the definitions here. There we go, the tincture gold. So OR can be gold. AU can also be gold from the periodic table of elements. AU is the abbreviation for gold. So it looks to me like we're looking for a 6-letter word that means buy. We add OR onto it and we get, that all gives us one who should be paid. Now, if you buy something, rather than purchase, it doesn't mean purchase, it means to believe it. If you buy something, you believe it, you give it credit. So credit or is what we need there. And that gives us an absolute load of nonsense in the crossing entries. I think I did spend some time sure I would be able to solve this, but didn't at this point. Then what on earth did I do next? I knew I was floundering. I think I got this one fairly quickly, 11 across. What's underground and rounded primarily? And this is a classic so-called and lit clue. So you'll notice as we go through cryptic crossword clues on the channel, almost always the definition the straight definition is at the start or the end of the clue. The main, well, there are two types of clues that are exceptions to that rule. There's the cryptic definition, where you have to read the whole clue and think about it in a sort of cryptic way. And there's the and lit clue, which is sort of the El Dorado of crossword construction, where the whole clue acts as the definition and the whole clue acts as wordplay, and that's what we've got here. So we actually need something that's underground and rounded. We need to think of something that fits this 5-letter sequence that is underground and rounded. Now, in order to get that, we have to think we need a 4. Rounded primarily is indicating the letter R, the primary letter of the word rounded, so that's going to be there. So now we need a 4-letter word for what's underground. Now you need to completely change your thinking now and think about the London Underground, which is often referred to as the tube. And a tuba you would find underground and is typically rounded. So that's what's going on there. I don't think... I did look at this. I spent a while looking at 6 down, occasion to be sick with superior medical department. I was quite sure that that was going to end UER at the end. Superior can be U. Let's just justify that quickly. We go to U. We go under... where is it? U. Here we go. U. The third definition of the letter U is socially acceptable upper class. Well, upper class and superior are pretty synonymous, aren't they? So I thought this was going to be U, and then a medical department I thought was going to be an ER. So I thought this was going to be of this construction, and we will see whether that turns out to be true later. Now, yeah, this was the next one I got that was meaningful. 14 down. I realised this would be useful. So normally, say, study involves university. Now, involves university is telling you to put the letter U into something, because because U is an abbreviation for university. That's why. And normally, let me just think about this. I'm trying to remember if this is where I went next. Yeah, no, it is. It is. So I knew I needed a word for study. And I was desperate to use read in this, but I couldn't see how to do it. And in the end, I thought of I literally just went to thinking about words that mean normally, or phrases that mean normally, and eventually I came up with as per usual. And then it's a case of backing into how does that work. Say, if you as and say are sort of synonymous. If you do something, if you're giving an example, you might say as, you know, as is a word that does the same duty as say, I think anyway. And then perusal, you can see, if you study something, you peruse it. So study is a perusal, and that involves an extra U there. And that gives you as per usual for the answer. And all of a sudden you think, oh, wow, I'm absolutely away now because, look, we've got all of these starting letters. Well, the way that we can go there is to look at 22 across. City or United, to be in yellow to secure win mostly. Now, we're probably looking for a city here. And this is where Peter came unstuck, because although he knew that Ulaanbaatar was a city, capital of Mongolia, I don't know how he spelt it, but he spelt it wrong. I mean, it's such a... I mean, how often do we see the words the Ulaanbaatar written down? Very rarely. Now, I have to say, I wrote this in once I had the U here, so I've never passed this clue. So let's see how it works. City or United, to be in yellow to secure win mostly is most of the word land. If you land a fish, or if you land a contract, you win it. So we've got, oh, to be in is to, this is outrageous. Right, so to be in, if you're in cricket, you bat, don't you? So we've got you, bat, and yellow for OR. We just saw OR here being just for gold, but I think under, didn't it also say yellow in some way? I think it did. I can't remember. Tincture gold or yellow. So there's OR, very useful in this crossword, and that all goes around land to give the answer. I looked at this one. I think I thought this might be racer at this point, but I was unsure. So snake breed with its head reappearing by its tail. So I thought, you can see now we've got an R here and an R here. So it feels to me like we need a word for race. Oh, sorry, for breed. We need a word for breed, where we're going to take the first letter of that word and put it onto its tail, or put it onto the end of the letter. So I could see racer might be an option, but I wasn't sure that racer was a snake. In fact, I'm still unsure what type of snake it is. Why don't we look it up? There we go. Any of several non-venomous North American snakes. Well, there it is, very clear. So that does indeed turn out to be right. Yeah, I looked at this one next. Heavy metal, back issues production period. Well, heavy metal is lead, isn't it? So that looked quite good for here. And then if you issue something, you emit it. And if you turn that backwards, you get the word time. And lead time, rather than lead time, but lead time is a production period. So all of a sudden it feels like, oh, at least we're making a little bit of progress. I did look at this and didn't get it. Obsolete coins you get from dud crackers. I mean, this one I now got. I had a brief look at this clue at this by this point and hadn't got it first time through. But once I got the U here, I did get it. So footsore after heading off for America, say. And the way you have to get this one is you have to think, we need a 6-letter word for footsore, and we need to take the heading off that word, so we need to remove its first letter. And there you need to think about footsore not in terms of sort of tired, but literally a sore on your foot or a lump on your foot could be a bunion. And if you take off the first letter of bunion, you can get union, which is and obviously America is a union of states. Let's have a look at this one. Actor playing vampire with hump, very big one. Now, I mean, this, I don't know. Loads of you out there will be, well, that's obvious, Simon. Well, it is obvious if you are familiar with old vampire films. If you're not familiar with them, it took my brain at least a little while to be sure about what was going on here. So we're looking for Bela Lugosi, who famously played Count Dracula, I think. How does it work? If you hump something, you lug it. Very big is often OS in cryptic crosswords. I think that stands for outsized, but it might be oversized. Let's have a look, in fact. If you see very big and things like that, you should always outsize. There we go. And then 1 for I, the Roman numeral. I mean, there's a variety of reasons. Actually, I can be one. But that gives us Lugosi. That gives us a chance of getting this one, obsolete coins. I mean, if you see obsolete coins, you know you're in a world of pain, because there are so many words for old coins. I mean, if this was a listener clue, you'd be terrified, because there literally are, you know, dozens of them. In the Times crossword, this is about as arcane as it would get, I think. I don't think you could ask for much more arcane than this answer. You get, so obsolete coins you get from dud crackers. I mean, it's brilliant. It's sort of, it sort of suggests that at Christmas you're all pulling crackers and they're not very good, and you get obsolete coins in yours. But what you might get from bad crackers at Christmas are no bangs, which is this. And an O-bang is an old Japanese oblong gold coin. So that is what's going on there. Absolutely outrageous. Let's have a look at this one. So 27. Can't remember what the answer was for this. I should be able to, shouldn't I? Oh, I can remember. Oh, this actually, I didn't get this at this point. Let's read it. Degree day, clothing about right in general. Degree, if you see degree, you should be thinking BA, MA, you know, the classic types of degree that you would get at university. So I was very confident this began with MA. I could even see it might have a C here. And looking at it now, I can't believe I couldn't get it more quickly, but I couldn't. Let's go here. I think that's where I went next. I did, yes, I got this one now. So safety device close to till a large city branch has installed. Well, the definition here is safety device. So that's and that was confirmed in my mind by the fact that I did know a large city was the smoke. You know, if you visit the smoke, you go to a large city, typically London. So I thought smoke might be at the start, and then it wasn't difficult to think of alarm. But how does it work? So close to till is going to be the closing letter of the word till, I think. That would be that, L. A large city, branch has installed. Oh, branch is going to be arm, isn't it? So how is this all working? Close to till, A, large city. Yes, I see. Right, gosh, so you have to be very careful in terms of how we're going to identify all of this. So close to till is this L. Where's the clue gone? Close to till is this L. This A in the clue is this A. So this is the L, this is the A. And then we need to install that L and that A in a word for a large city. Well, that's smoke. And a branch is an arm. So smoke arm has AL in the middle of it. Oh, no, smoke arm. Oh, hang on. Has LA in the middle of it. This is the A of arm that we need, not this. I know it looks like this is arm, but no, in terms of the structure of the clue, that is the A of the word arm, and that's the R of it, and that's the M of it. And that's how it works. Let's go here. 19 across. Table oddly situated to the left. Now, again, that's quite interesting as I'm going through this, because I wrote in eats here, which I presume is the answer. Oh, yes, I can see why this is right. So if you take the odd letters of the word situated, you can see you would get S-T-A-E. And if you turn that to the left, you would reverse it, and that would give you eats. So that's how that one works. And now I did get this one. I remember this one now. One not passing on title. Well, if we look at this structure, one not passing on title, you might think of a life peer. Animation. If you show signs of animation, you show signs of life. At any time, ear is a contraction of ever. Let's look at it here. There we go. In fact, that's exactly what it says. So ear is WER here, and that's under pressure. So it's under. It's a down clue, so it can be underneath P for pressure. From P is pressure from various types of scientific equation, if I remember rightly. And now this is gettable from the cross-checking entries. I'm going to be interested, actually. I don't know why it's this, but I could now. Oh, okay, yes. Yes, I do know how this works. Goodness me! I mean, this requires knowledge of well, the old radio show, the War of the Worlds, by Orson Welles. The answer here is Newsflash, and that. The radio show, and indeed I think there was a TV series of it, wasn't there? that did feature lots of news flashes. So a regular feature of Wells' War of the Worlds is the definition here. Newsflash. How does that work in terms of the wordplay? Novel, if something is novel, it is new. Science fiction, SF, that's a fairly common abbreviation. And a cat is a lash, as in a whip. So you put all that together, we get newsflash. Have you got 4 down yet? Don't worry if you haven't, because it's monstrous. Now this one's gettable, especially if you play a bit of golf. So bad-tempered. And I saw successful golfer, and I thought, well, if you're successful at golf, you know, you hold things, don't you? So then I sort of remembered there was a word choleric, or I don't know how you say it, but choleric. Let's in fact look it up so we can see that it is a word. If you have choler, you've got irascibility, and choleric, full of passion or anger or bad-tempered. So successful golfer is a holer. 1, that's this I, breaking clubs repeatedly. So clubs in bridge now. If you were looking at a bridge column in a newspaper, you would see 1C would indicate they bid 1 club, wouldn't it? So clubs, H for hearts, S for spades, D for diamonds. These are also common abbreviations, but it's I mean, just read the surface of this clue. It's so clever. Bad-tempered if successful golfer. 1 breaking clubs repeatedly. You know, it conjures up a picture that is perfect, you know, in terms of you've got the golfer breaking his clubs, and yet it all leads to a very nice wordplay and structure. This is a brilliant, see this one, but I didn't get this yet. This one, beyond, oh yes, no, I did get this. I may even have got this a little bit earlier. Be on high alert here after working WC with hot water. So it's sort of trying to paint an image. I don't know what sort of image it's trying to paint, but working is sometimes used as an anagram indicator in cryptic crosswords. So if I tell you that, can you spot the anagram fodder? So we're then looking for 10 letters altogether. And the 10 letters we're looking to anagram are going to be WC and hot water. And that's 10 letters altogether. If you scramble those around, you can create watchtower, which is somewhere that you would be on high alert, not in the sense of you know, being keyed up and anxious, but you would literally be higher than everyone else and on alert. So that's also, you know, it's a lovely, it's just a lovely piece of misdirection. 18 down I now did get once I had this T and this D. So let's go to there. Pole on flight appearing to come down in bad weather. Yeah, I mean this. I'll put the answer in. It's stair rod. So there is an expression about it. Sort of, it was coming down like stair rods. Stair rods being, you know, absolutely vertical things that would be an awful lot of water in one raindrop. So a pole on flight. So it's actually, I think it's just a cryptic definition. Well, a pole on a flight, as in a flight of stairs, is a stair rod. And as I say, from the expression, a stair rod would come down in bad weather. So it's sort of a double definition type thing. Now, I got this very late. I thought I saw part of Conservatoire going back. Yeah, I mean, no, I did get this around now. Iota, you can see it's hidden. It's just a hidden reversal. Constantine to Constantine I is beautiful because it's saying it looks like it's referring to Constantine the First, and then you're sort of thinking, well, what do I know about Constantine the First? If you're me, nothing. But what it's saying is to somebody called Constantine, which is a Greek name. To somebody who's Greek, the letter I would be the iota. So to Constantine I is just lovely. It's absolutely lovely. I definitely had spent more time by this point on this. This Potter character. And I think it was around now that I realised it wasn't Harry Potter at all. It was Beatrix Potter. And then I was cursing myself because I do know that Beatrix Potter's books include some unlikely names, and I did not know this one. So I was trying to do it from the wordplay. Sorcerer, I wanted to put witch here. One time I thought was probably IT rather than AT, but I was conscious it could be AT, so it looked like it was something like this. And eventually I thought, well, twitch it. Somebody twitch it. That sounds possible. But I wasn't sure what the first letter was at this point. I think I did use this H to look at this one again. And eventually I did come up with this. So how does it work? We're looking for the name of a real general here. And so we're looking for MacArthur. And how does it work in terms of wordplay? We've got MA for degree. I've got to work this out because I don't remember how degree day. Oh, Thursday is going to be the day, is it? So we've got MA for degree, Thursday, clothing about, which is circa, and R for right. And that gives you MacArthur, and that confirms racer look. So all of a sudden we think, ha, practically done. Nothing little more to do. Nah, this top right hand corner is absolutely vicious. It is absolutely vicious. I'm looking at it now. I can't remember what the answer to this is. And I'm looking at it going through exactly the same processes that I went through last time. I still don't know. I might actually have to do that from getting the checking entries. Oh, I have got it now. Okay, yeah, and my earlier thoughts were nonsense. Okay, this one I didn't get. This is, I think, the only one that is accessible. Where Amber runs, dashing Romeo by her side. Again, it's just a beautiful surface reading. And as you read it, you're thinking, well, what's the clue? What is the clue there? Where Amber runs? I was thinking amber lights as in traffic lights. I was thinking, what's that got to do with anything to do with Romeo? But eventually, you might have the thought, I mean, dashing Romeo. I read this clue. I mean, my hat is off to Richard. This sort of thing is so brilliant. Dashing Romeo by her side. So if you dash the letters R for Romeo, because that is the international radio code word for the letter R, and by her side, which is 9 more letters. So if we anagram those letters, then we might be able to come up with something which is where Amber runs. And the only way really to do this is to shuffle these around in your head until you come up with the fact that there is an anagram of those letters, which is Derbyshire. And I am reliably informed that the River Amber runs in Derbyshire, which is not something I knew. And then we are literally faced with sort of, well, not literally faced with Armageddon, but we now have a series of absolutely vicious clues that we have to unscramble. And I'd be amazed if this isn't where David got held up, because especially if you don't know this seven down name. I mean, it's so difficult to get a handle on what any of these clues are talking about. But let's go through it. I mean, and just bear in mind, Mark did this in the audience in 10 minutes. How do you do this in 10 minutes? This is not a normal puzzle. Oh, and I just want to say another thing now. Sorry, my brain is flying off in all directions because I have lots of thoughts about lots of aspects of all of this stuff. But it's absolutely crucial in my mind that when you get the top 3 in the world up in the front of the stage, they are faced not with an easy puzzle, which would make it a bit of a crapshoot. You know, it's sort of, you know, we can all do easy puzzles in very few minutes. So having something this difficult is perfect because it does provide clear delineation. Anyway, let's look at 7 down and let's see if we can solve it. So we know we're looking for a Beatrix Potter character. Rather taken in by that sorcerer one time. Well, we think sorcerer is going to be witch. It might be some... It's half term at the moment, so I don't think that is the... I don't think they're the cries of pain. I think they're just the cries of exuberance. So I can continue. Anyway, so Potter's character. So if we're right with sorcerer one time for witch it, we've got to arrange rather taken in by that at the start. Now, believe it or not, that is plain here. And maybe this should be more obvious to me, but it wasn't. So, hang on, how does this work? I know what I want to put in. I'm just going to put it in, and then we can talk about why it's right. So the answer here is Tabitha Twitchit. Did you know Tabitha Twitchit? If you did, well done. How does it work? Well, rather is a bit there. A bit. And that's inside that, T-H-A-T, followed by the witch it thing, and that gives you Tabitha Twitchit. And let's see if that gives us any inspiration for these ones. This clue is so utterly brilliant and so utterly simple at the same time. £5 bit, 6 letters. Let's have some thoughts about this. These are the thoughts I went with. 5, often abbreviated to V from the Roman numeral. So I thought, could this begin with a V? Pound. Or is there a word for... I mean, I spent a long time thinking that there was a Cockney slang term for £5, and I didn't know it. So I thought, oh, goodness, and it's going to mean bit, and... you know, and it looks like it's trying to be ED here, isn't it? If something bit on you, it gnawed on you, but a different word to gnawed. I mean, this is so clever, because you actually, I'm going to give you a clue about this one actually, and then have a think about it. The definition here is the word 5, and that is in and of itself so, it's so horrific. Because how can you split up £5 in this clue if you aren't using a V first? I mean, £5 just belongs together, doesn't it? So anyway. That's what we need to do for this clue. I have finally remembered what this one is. So occasion to be sick with superior medical department. In fact, let's do this now. The only other medical department that comes up in crosswords is ear, nose and throat. Now, if you thought it was ear, nose and throat, and you thought to put that at the start, which is really hard, because then you have to read the word superior as suggesting that it's not the letter U here. It's actually saying that superior is in above. In positional sense within the clue, we need to put the medical department. If you have that thought, the clue becomes easier. To be sick is then to ail. And entail, if you occasion something, you entail it. Occasion to be is to entail. It's a perfect definition. It's just very, very hard to see. It gives you an E in this one. Any ideas? Let's look at these last 4 in fact. This one is an outrage, but let's go through this. So hand study notes in miserable. This is unfortunately I gave it away a bit with the way I read that clue out, but hand study notes in miserable, which I think is the way you're meant to read it, it's so good, isn't it? It's, you know, again, it conjures up an image of a student handing in their study notes, absolutely miserable. And yet the way we need to read the clue to solve it is we need a word that means hand study, the study of hands. And if you think now that's gettable, we can put palmistry in. How does it work? Well, poultry is miserable. A miserable amount would be a paltry amount, and that has MIs in it. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. One of the spellings of mi there is in the note is MI. It's also ME. So, but if we go to MI, we will see that there is listed as a musical note. At least I think we will. The third note of the sol, fa notation. Oh, there we go, and it even says it's spelt as me. So that's how this one works, and we're left with these three, which are the hardest three in the puzzle in my mind, especially if, remember, everyone's there, not quite sure. Everyone will know this puzzle's hard in the grand final, and therefore there's a real chance, if you can be clean on this puzzle and not make an error, that you could win. So you'll want to justify everything that you put in, obviously. So let's talk about it. So I think we'll go in the order. I solved all of this within half an hour, except this one, 17 across. I couldn't solve this within half an hour. I do know what it is now, obviously. So I think I got one of these next, but I certainly didn't justify this until afterwards. Let's go to this one, which is just sensational. So 5. We need a word for 5, and you might know the word pentad, and that's the answer. And a pound is a pen, as in somewhere you might keep animals. You keep dogs in a pound, or pound and pen are certainly synonymous in the sense of animal enclosures, I think. Let's see if it's listed. There we go, an enclosure in which to keep stray animals. And if we go to pen, I'm sure, well, pen's probably got 100 definitions, but one of them, an enclosure for animals. There we go. So pen, and a bit of something is a tad of it. So pen tad for 5 is what we needed there. Where should we go now? Should we go to the one I didn't get? Because this clue is so barbaric. Let's go to this one. Is a hip eccentric, always dropping one thing for another? I mean, this is so... Oh, it annoys me. It annoys me a bit I couldn't solve it. But on the other hand, I think if you're not familiar with the answer here, it's very difficult. So the way this clue is meant to be read is that eccentric is an anagram indicator, and we need to anagram is a hip. You may say, well, that's not 4 letters. You're quite right, but always dropping one, or always dropping one. Yeah, I mean, always dropping one. I now see. Oh, I mean, actually, this clue is brilliant as well. I mean, I've just seen how this is meant to actually be structured. So it's not always dropping one thing, which is how I thought it worked. It's always dropping one, as in I. So we take is a hip, we always drop the I out, we get left with SAHP. We treat that eccentrically, so we anagram it, and if we do that, we can create pash. And a thing, if you have a thing for somebody, if you have a thing for another person, you have a crush on them. And I'm fairly sure that pash, it's not a word I knew, but a passion, it is literally an adolescent infatuation. I mean, it couldn't be more perfectly defined as a thing for another person or thing for another. That's brilliant. It's just brilliant. I didn't get it, but I do totally accept it's fair, and the best thing for me is that it's not only fair, it's very clever. And so I really admire that clue. I don't hold a grudge against it. Now, 4 down. Let's do this one, the last one. So, home for 1, a poor tent finally put up. And this is, believe it or not, another... Well, I was going to say it's an and lit. I think it's an and lit. Yeah, I think it's meant to be an and lit. And looking at it, you may say, okay, so what could the answer be? I mean, I'm not sure actually how many answers would go in there. I think very few. I'm trying to think, can I think of anything apart from the answer that would go in there? The answer is tramp. Why it's tramp is is the genius part of this. So let's go through this. A is this A. Portent finally. Well, the last letters of por and tent are R and T. These are T's. And that's put up, so that's reversed. So how is home for one PM under that construction? Because what we're saying is we have to reverse the whole of PM, A, and R and T. And for that to be true, home for one has to give us PM. Well, Alec Douglas Hume, which was spelt home, like this, was a British Prime Minister. So PM here is referring to home for one is saying, so Alec Douglas Hume was an example of a British Prime Minister, PM. So PM, A, RT, all gets reversed and put up, and that gives you tramp. And I think what the clue is trying to say is, if we read it in a literal way, home for one, a poor tent finally put up. Maybe a tramp can be I mean, I think it's referring to a vagrant. I'm just wondering if there is another meaning here of a tramp, as in maybe it is a type of home. I don't think it is, but cargo boat with no fixed. Home for one, a poor tent finally put up. I'm just trying to make sure I understand why tramp is defined by this clue. It must be an and lit, because the whole clue is definitely wordplay. So it is an and lit. So we need to read this sentence, and it needs to define the word tramp. Home for one, a poor tent finally put up. I think the for one here is trying to indicate that the word being defined is the one who is in the poor tent. I think it just about works, but it's hellishly difficult. And I think the only thing that saves this one from, I suspect this is the word that most of the solvers would have the most problem with, because justifying this and seeing it as an answer is, you know, if you're faced with blank A blank H and you've got this clue to read, and you've got, I mean, there must be hundreds of words that would fit, and you've got to get the right one. That is vicious. Whereas here, I doubt there are any other words that fit into this construction. And if there are, they're very obscure words. I could be missing one, but I don't think there's a lot of stuff that can go in there. So you're probably prepared to put tramp in there, but would you be prepared to put pash in here over? And pash is a strange word, over any number of other things. Probably not. Anyway, that is the puzzle. That is how to explain the clues from the puzzle. And we can all, I think, take our hats off. If you had to do this under time pressure in front of an audience with the Times Crossword Championship on the line, and you get through it as Matthew did correctly in under 20 minutes, then our hats should be off to you. And many congratulations also, of course, to Peter and David for making the final. And yeah, and again, thanks for all the organisers, thanks to all the friends and the new friends that I met. It was a wonderful day. I wish it had been more successful for Cracking the Cryptic, but we still had a brilliant time. And yeah, again, if you do enjoy these videos, drop a like, please, and that would be most appreciated, especially by that naughty old algorithm. And we'll be back later with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.